You'll notice I'm not alone in the studio today, which always makes me super happy. I got a friend in the house today, Nicole Lynn Brown. She recently got the chance to be on the game show You Bet Your Life with Jay Leno. How cool is that? But she's also a really cool influencer over on Instagram and Facebook, where she is sharing all things fashion, local, travel, and inspiration to live our best life. And so, welcome.
Hi.
I'm excited. Number one, congratulations, and how exciting on your latest experience with Jay Leno.
Thank you. I kind of feel like old news because I filmed it last summer.
That's how things normally sort of happen.
It's like a whole year process.
So we had Holly Brand on yesterday, hometown girl who's doing great things on Voice. She's had to sit on that for 6 months now. So
and it's a hard secret to keep.
It was a hard secret to keep. Okay, let's start there. How did the Jay Leno opportunity come about for you?
So it was so odd because they messaged me on Instagram. And
they reached out to you.
I thought it was a scam. So I Googled, I went on LinkedIn with the producer's name just to make sure everything was legit. I called my mom and I said, have you ever heard of this game show? And she was like, oh, yeah, I watch it. In the daytime, it comes on before the stories like Young and the Restless, Bold and the Beautiful. And I was like, okay, well, they just asked me to apply to be on the You Bet Your Life game show with Jay Leno. And so I applied. I wrote back and said, sure.
I'm curious, what did the DM say? Like, hey, Nicole Lynn, this is so-and-so. I mean,
yes.
What does that look like?
So the producer, I forgot her name, but she messaged me and she was like, hi, Nicole. Me and the producers were sitting around and we happened to just scroll through your Instagram. You popped up on our Explore page, and the producers was like, I think she would be a great fit for our game show. So we were interested or wondering if you would apply for a chance to meet Jay Leno.
It's funny, I get a lot of our Good Things guests via stalking Facebook and Instagram, and now I'm wondering how many pause to reply to me and go and stalk.
But it was also,
to see if we're legit. I never thought about that.
Yeah, but it's also a reminder, too, you never know who's watching.
This is true. Yes, very, very true. Okay, so you wrote back and was like, yes, my mom knows who you are.
Right. And so then I filled out the application, which was, oh my gosh, like 4 pages. They wanted to know everything about your life, like all the way back to childhood. They wanted to know all interesting stories. And I remember calling my mom and my sister, and I was like, what did I do when I was a child? I am not that interesting, I promise. And so, like, my sister and my mom were telling me all the things that I did. And so we would just start filing that in. And when I turned in the application online, I said, they are not going to call me back because I just don't think I'm an interesting person. But they definitely called back a week later and they set up a Zoom interview. And that's where they ask you again about your application. They ask you questions. They tell you a little bit about the show, how it all looks. And then they say, well, you'll hear back from us in another couple of days. And then the next thing you know, I was on a plane heading to L.A., a free trip.
Absolutely.
Absolutely fun. I'm trying to think how much I can tell.
Oh, that's right. So, but it's already
I can tell some
though.
things. Yes, it has aired.
Okay, so let's start with, if you haven't ever watched it, because I saw Rhino shaking his head, so he's heard of You Bet Your Life with Jay Leno. I'll be honest, I am not sitting around TV before the stories anymore. And so I've heard of it. I'll say that, but I'm not as familiar with it as things that come on after work hours.
Right.
So, set up the premise of the show. How does it work?
So basically, they pair 2 strangers together, and then you come up on stage, and Jay Leno presents you with about 3 or 5 categories, and then you and your partner are supposed to select a category, and then there are 5 questions, and each question that you get correct, you win a money. So it's like a tier game, and then at the end, Jay Leno asks, do you want to bet all of your winnings and double it, or do you want to just leave and go home and take with what you've earned? And of course, if you're going to fly all the way to LA, you're going to go all out.
Yeah,
so of course you want to do the double your money. And so that's how that works. And if you haven't seen it, it's a really interesting show. I think the show brings a lot of unique people from all over with different backgrounds, different stories, and that what kind of makes the show entertaining to watch.
So the 5 questions or the 5 categories, do you remember them or do you remember any of them?
I cannot remember the category, but some of the questions were like race car shows the name of like famous race car shows like Daytona 500, or tell us about who is the most popular singer who sung this song, like R.E.S.P.C.T.
So it's not based on the two contestants' life from the questions you had to answer.
Categories
it's for a year. Yeah,
that they already preset.
So were you nervous about that? Because, see, I would be like, maybe I'm an interesting person. I don't know. But that would be for them to decide. But, like, I'm not good with trivia. So I would be setting myself up. Is it multiple choice?
No.
Oh, that's even worse.
Was it multiple choice?
Because
no, it was not multiple choice. Now, there are some questions that are multiple choice. So my story is a little bit different. So when I flew out to LA for the first time, I went through hair and makeup, all the COVID testing, sitting in the studio for 8 hours a day, and we learned that someone tested positive for COVID in the studio. So they had to shut the whole production down, and they said, okay, everyone, you have to go home. And many of us who had not been on stage yet, we were like,
well,
what?
That's not fair.
So are we even going to come back? Yeah. And producers were like, if you get a call back, we'll fly you back out. If not, then, oh, well, that was your opportunity. And so I flew back home.
Hollywood.
And then,
so grateful.
and it's crazy because the bus, here's another little backstory too, but you stay at a hotel, but you're like an hour away from the studio. And so a bus that does not have like any markings on it, it's like a kidnapper van.
I'm saying that's creepy.
They come pick you up and they drive you and they confiscate your phone and all
everything
these
your
things.
mom told you to stay away from.
Yeah. So like my mom couldn't reach me or anything, and I'm in a van full of other strangers because we haven't really talked and got to know each other. And we're supposed to not know each other too. That was another little tidbit. But the driver said that it happens all the time in LA during the pandemic. If someone tests positive, they shut the whole studio down, and it's frustrating for them because they don't get paid.
Right.
So
yeah. Well, now you got two trips. So you got 2 trips to LA.
So when I got back home a week later, the producers emailed me and say, "Hey, we're sorry that happened. Can you come back out and let's try this again?" So I wasn't as nervous the second time because I had been sitting in the studio for 8 hours prior, and so I kind of knew my surroundings. I was just very relaxed. So
it probably made it a more enjoyable experience.
Yes, it did.
So you finally so when's the first time you got to see who you were going to be competing against? Do you already know that, sort of sitting up there watching, or is it like they just randomly pull, like, Price is Right or whatever? So
when we're sitting behind the studio, everybody gets assigned a letter. And so if you have these letters, you sit on this side. If you have these letters, you sit on this side. And there's like a black curtain that kept us divided. So everybody, like in my group, we were all talking, getting to know each other, but we were paired with someone in the opposite room.
Gotcha.
So we never met until we actually got on stage, but really, when we had lunch break, we all talked because we were in line getting food. So,
but you didn't have time to get to know,
yeah,
get to know one another.
And I had a great partner, Marty.
Okay, so what else can you, like, I was going to say, when it goes through, like, when do you get to actually meet Jay? Is he just comes out on stage? So you don't.
Stage.
Yeah, okay.
So you have to keep your composure. And it's so crazy because they're like, when you walk out, keep eye contact on the cameras, on Jay, and then they give you all these stipulations. Of course, we had to go through all these meetings of what you can and cannot say. So if you've watched the show, if you watched my episode, Jay Leno mentions my lipstick and how he thought that was the most perfect lipstick applied. And I really wanted to say Sephora. I got it from Sephora in Mississippi, but I remember from our meetings, I couldn't even mention like a brand name. So you're always constantly...
Because that's free advertisement.
Yeah, so you're always constantly thinking, okay, what can and not say? And then also you cannot have any long pauses. You have to continuously talk to your partner. And then you have to keep your hands.
That'd be fine for a Mississippi girl. We just be rambling all the time anyway.
I know, but like when you get a question that I didn't know, like you don't have much time to think.
Yeah.
So you had to just talk it out with your partner. So luckily I had a great partner, so we were able to talk through our questions and get answers.
Sounds like it was a fun experience.
And I had to do my own hair and makeup. People think that they had hairstylists, which they did have hairstylists on set and makeup artists, but they were only there for touch-ups. So you had to come already ready to go, and you also had to bring multiple outfits for the producers to choose for you to wear.
Maybe this is why I've never been chosen. They've seen my Instagram, and they think, like, she can't do this on her own backstage. No, but yours is definitely beautiful with all the wardrobes and things. Okay, we've got more with Nicole and Brown coming up next. things, right? And we're continuing our conversation with Nicole Lynn Brown. She recently was on the game show You Bet Your Life with Jay Leno, but she's also a great influencer online, sharing all of her fashion, travel, inspiration sort of tips. And what is it's Instagram where you do most of your work, Nicole, and that's how Jay Leno's producers found you. What's your handle there?
It is Leela Southern Charm, Leias, and then Southern Charm. So I named it after my late grandmother. Her name was Leela.
I was just going to ask, where did Leela come from?
Yep.
But that's absolutely beautiful. Okay, I want to get to that part that got you there, but we'll wrap up talking about the show. And if people have missed your episode or hadn't seen that show yet and want to check it out, I know you can still watch it. How can people watch You Bet Your Life?
You can pull it up on the Tubi app, and it is a free app. You don't even have to register for an account. You can just search You Bet Your Life with Jay Leno, go to season 2, and I'm episode 129. In about 2 weeks, it'll be on YouTube.
All right, that's pretty cool. Okay, so there's not much more you can sort of give away. I know if you want folks to sort of watch it, and there's probably other behind the scenes, but are there any other tidbits about the experience or the show that you like, oh, people would love to know that?
It was a really cool experience. Jay Leno was super nice. He has the prettiest blue eyes. I mean, he was just really nice, down to earth. But I also met a lot of great people. We got to know each other for sitting in the studio for 8 hours with no phones, no devices or anything. So we got to know each other pretty well. I met quite a few people from New York, from New Jersey, and everyone at the end of the day, we were like, if you visit New Jersey, call me. If you come to New York, call me. I'll show you around. And I'm like, well, if you come to Jackson, Mississippi, call me and I'll take you around. My partner, again, was super nice. We still email each other from them. So I got a lot of great friendships out of it. And then we also explored LA together after filming. So it was a great connection. I love community, so that felt like a really good opportunity.
What was a neat tourist spot that you got to hit up in LA?
Oh my gosh, there were so many, but I think my favorite may be I loved Venus Beach in Malibu. Rodeo Drive.
We're driving down with the palm trees like you see on TV?
Yes, Rodeo Drive was absolutely beautiful. I had no money to do all the fun shopping. And then I did visit Pump's restaurant in West Hollywood, Lisa Vanderpump's restaurant. And it was so cool. She has like a live tree growing in the middle of her restaurant. And surprisingly, her prices were super affordable. The night that we went, it was like on a Tuesday, I believe. And it was like $5 drinks and appetizers. And we had just missed Lisa like 2 days prior. She was in town. So that was a really cool experience.
Now, Jay Leno reached out, or not Jay Leno, his producers reached out to you via your work that you do or the influencing you do there on Instagram, your other people that you met. Is that sort of the same way they found their way onto the show, or did you figure out how did other people sort of get connected or chosen?
So the people that I met, they actually applied for the show. I didn't think that was a thing. And then I also found out there are professional game show that people that they do that just for a living. They apply to all these game shows and just do that.
What?
Yes.
Like to try to live off their winnings?
Yep.
You can do that?
I guess so.
Rhino, you have missed your calling, bud.
So there were people there that was on Jeopardy, that was on Price is Right. When Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was a huge thing.
We're going to have to set up Rhino a side hustle for that.
Yeah.
Like Trivia King over here completely could figure out anything. I would bet I will pay your entry fee, and I just want 10% back plus the whatever commission back on all your winnings or whatever. Because you always see these things and you wonder how individuals sort of make it, and so that's kind of cool. But I love sort of the organic way that you kind of ended up on it. I think that's pretty cool because that means you're doing something good over on Instagram with your platform there. Okay, so it was named after your late grandmother. How long have you had your Instagram account?
About 3 to 4 years. So when I first started, so what got me into this, I would have people say, oh, where did you get that outfit from? And so I wanted a place to go to just kind of capture that, kind of like a photo diary of my outfits of each day and just kind of say where I got that item from. And then, honestly, I got into the comparison trap, and I was looking at all these other influencers that had 50,000 or 100,000 followers, and I kind of got scared and kind of backed off a little bit. And then right when I was going through I have anxiety, so right when I was going through like a little rough time with that, this was one of the things that kind of brought me joy was shopping and inspiring people. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do what I want to do. I want to share things that make me happy. I think about my grandmother who loved people. She loved fashion. We would go to Cato's whenever I would go to visit her, and she would just buy all these fun things and hats and all of that. So I was like, I'm going to get back on it, and I'm going to do it Nicole's way. And that kind of took that comparison thing out, and it doesn't give, I don't worry about the followers or the likes or the comments. I'm posting what I really do love and what I think other people would enjoy, and maybe it'll inspire them to try something new or experiment with color, or maybe it's on Sundays telling everyone to take a moment to kind of think back through the week, do some prayer prompts, and to kind of help people get into that, and just some encouraging scriptures and quotes throughout the week.
Right. And whenever you do that, then your authenticity shines through, which it does so well, Nicole, and then people start to follow, right? Like
Yes.
it's when you get on and you try to be someone you're not, it's like animals. They can sense whenever
Right.
there's, a little bit of it's not being true then. It's so over the last couple years, man, you really have grown. It may not be the 50,000, but it's a very respectable $7,000-$8,000. I mean, $7,000-$8,000. $7,000-$8,000. I mean, again, $7,000-$8,000 followers. I don't know where the dollars keep coming from, but does that feel like, is there pressure now that you feel like you've gained this title influencer? I mean, what does that feel like to be labeled an influencer? Because it's shifted over the last couple of years of
Right.
kind of what weight is in that word.
Right. And I'm still trying to find a creative word I could title myself, because honestly, we're all influencers. I mean, if we were talking about Loft before we got online, so you're influencing me. I was like, maybe I should go check out Loft, because I haven't been there in like a week or so.
Don't try the petite pants. I don't know who they choose to use as their models for sizes.
The skeleton mannequin.
But it made me angry.
But I kind of like to lean towards content creator. But definitely my biggest passion with my social media platforms is to build community with other women across the world. And I just hope that anyone that comes to my pages leaves refreshed and feels a little bit better about the day. I always tell my followers, you don't have to buy anything that I post in stories. It's just, I'm just putting it out there. I want to be a resource for you in the event that you're looking for something. And so I just love the community that's been built around the social media platforms that
I feel like
I've
for
created.
Instagram, I mean, obviously food took off in terms of photos, but then also too fashion, because I think both, when you mix in color or you look at it as sort of an art form, folks are gravitated to those images,
Right.
and then especially they want to replicate the recipe, right? And then they want to be told or shown how to put items, sort of together, because a good outfit makes you feel good
Right.
too. And I know one of the beautiful things for you, Nicole, is the fact that you really embrace the plus size, or the women who may not always have representation
Right.
of what fashion can look like. And I think that's so needed for all women, is to
Yes.
have
They want to see it on a real body.
yes,
Yeah.
right, because you go in there and those mannequins didn't even wear
Are not
these
realistic.
didn't wear them britches good either today. So you want to see it on somebody who looks that way. So your grandmother's the one that got you into fashion. Was there any other influence for your love of color and outfits and sort of seeing style?
I would say that kind of all came later, as far as like building my self-confidence to wear the color, because, a couple of years back, plus size girls were told not to wear color or certain prints or anything. And so I started to just try it. Honestly, the ladies at Loft in Ridgeland and at the Renaissance, they kind of inspired me to try things. When I would come in, they would say, hey, this came in, we think it would look cute on you. And so I think all of that just built up and then I started to feel good on the inside. So I was like, oh, I love this. I want to wear color. I want to wear things that accentuate my curves, and I want to share that with others.
And then you have to have some feeling of good, or whenever I guess your followers try the outfits or step out, do they connect back with you? Do they tell you that they're out there experimenting or giving things a try?
I love the messages that I get when someone sends me like their outfit of the day, and they're like, I was inspired by this post that you posted. Maybe it was 2 months ago, but they were like, I finally stepped out and just got a pair of colorful shoes to wear with my dress today. So that's always heartwarming to see and read.
Colorful shoes make you happy.
Yes,
I do.
agree.
I totally agree. And it makes me happy that we're going to continue our conversation with Nicole Lynn Brown coming up now, Lounge. We're continuing our conversation with Nicole Lynn Brown, also known as Nicole by our friends. But she was recently on Jay Leno's game show, but she spends most of her free time working with her, I guess, followers there on Instagram as well as Facebook, TikTok, and Pinterest. And you've been labeled or dubbed an influencer, a fashion influencer, which I feel like would feel weird, right? Like that's being called like a celebrity because you're just doing the things you enjoy. But I thought it'd be fun to dive into what that world looks like because there's so many myths around this wonderful world of influencing. Some of it's fun. Obviously, you're having a good time. But what would you like for people to know, like behind the scenes as a fashion influencer? What's it really like?
It is a lot of hard work and planning and prep. I work a full-time job, and so I spend a lot of my free time in the evenings and on the weekends prepping for content, and they call it batch content. So for me, a weekend looks like maybe on a Saturday morning, creating 4, 5, 6 reels that I can spread out throughout the rest of the month, taking pictures, just putting together a whole lot of batch content, even writing out captions, taking a look at my calendar and say, okay, this day, maybe new dresses are arriving at Loft, so maybe I should go into Loft and do a fitting room try-on of all the spring dresses, and just really taking a look at your calendar for the whole month and trying to plan it out. That's how I stay kind of on top of things and keep myself organized, is just trying to do as much as I can on the weekends and then kind of focus during the week, like in the evenings or early mornings before work, engaging with my followers on my social media channels.
And you've chosen to keep a full-time job where many have said, Nicole, you ought to just dive right in and go right into it and just see what happens. But you kind of, you have a little wisdom in you. What keeps you from doing that?
Well, one, so my background degree is in paralegal studies and also an HR degree. And I really have a passion for people in HR, just putting the people aspect back in HR. So I really enjoy that, and I'm really trying to grow into that area. I love what I do. And why not do the best of both worlds? But I mean, to be honest, I love knowing that I have insurance and a 401k lined up. And I'm just not ready to pay for those things on my own just yet.
I don't blame you for that.
And also, I'm not sure if I wake up tomorrow and Meta decides to cut off all social media channels and then I'm left with nothing, or if my account gets hacked, what am I going to do? So there's just not a lot of sustainability into that. So for me right now.
And I think these are good conversations to have. And I feel like if you've got a kid at home who feels like that all they want to do when they grow up is be a social media influencer, because that's just where we live now, right? Like it used to be movie stars or supermodels or whatever would influence, young generations. Now it's influencers. That every generation has had that sort of fame focus for kids. They need to hear that it's just not all rainbows and butterflies and just taking pictures and sort of lounging around in a wonderful. I'm sure it's a fun life, but there's still, it's a gamble.
Right. And for example, this week I'm working on some content and I got home late and I still had to create that content, but then it was too dark to take pictures. So then I had to run home on my lunch break the next day to take the pictures while there was sunlight. So there's a lot of work behind it. And if you don't get the right photo or the right video, you have to redo it and you don't know how much time is that going to take. Yeah. And then you have to consider the editing of photos and videos. So it's a lot of time commitment behind it. And it's fun. I know a lot of times we grapple about all the things that we have to do to be out there, but that's another reason that I didn't want to compare myself to other influencers. I wanted to do the things how I wanted it to be shown so that I can still keep that joy and passion in it. And so I kind of like give myself breaks. And then also with the batch contenting, that helps so that I'm not always doing content every single day, if that makes sense. Because I've already planned ahead. I have enough content to last me for the rest of the month.
Now, one of the perks of your hard work, because it does take hard work to create those sort of followers and then sort of sustain them, particularly for other businesses sort of look at. I mean, this is a business model at the same time, not to poke fun at it. I mean, you're hearing this hard, there's hard work for a reason. And then other small businesses want to take advantage of the audience you've created. Mm-hmm. So you get to also correspond with other great women in the area who are doing like-minded things online, but maybe from a different angle. What's it like getting to celebrate with other women in Mississippi who are also using social media as a business platform?
Right. Then again, it goes back to community. I love building those relationships, and especially with other creators here in Jackson. And they're great because if I want to vent, they're the ones that's going to understand what we're going through. But we also encourage each other and we celebrate each other, whatever we've got going on in our lives or what's happening on the social media platforms. We try to show up for each other by supporting the post and our content that we're putting out there, but also just in real life in general.
Man, that is a daily juggle that you guys do, like worrying about algorithms and sort of all of that.
Yes.
I mean, it's real life.
Replying to all DMs and comments from our post. And
knowing what you know now, would you have started it a couple years ago? Because now you feel like you have a beast to feed, which is still bringing you joy. I know there's a balance to that. Or would you have chosen not to?
I think I still would do it. I would still do it, even with all the hard work behind it, and because I'm getting that joy fulfilled with the community that I've built so far with my social media channels. I wouldn't have met so many amazing people. I wouldn't have had a great amount of opportunities. So I wouldn't have just grown, even personally, with like my anxiety. It makes me happy and joyful when I get to do what I love, not only at my full time, but also in influencing part time. And so I think I would do it all over again.
Too, of having a storefront, which technically, like your Instagram account, for those who choose it as a business, there's a lot of small businesses throughout Mississippi who use Instagram as an additional storefront to sell things, or Facebook or TikTok or Twitter. I don't know Twitter so much, but so these are just other avenues and resources to have your local business. But you also have dreams for a local business.
Yes, I would love to open my own boutique one day, especially for curvy women and for petite ladies, because I get it. It's hard to find clothes that fit and fit right. And so I would love to have that with some additional space, pretty seating area where women can come together, whether they want to do a small group or devotionals, and just have an area, create a space for...
Do you have a name for it?
I don't.
Oh, I think I like your...
I thought about Leela's and just calling it that in like cursive writing.
I think that would be...
the front.
Look, we are putting things out there into the universe.
We are.
For you. You also do local events, I know, with some of those wonderful women, and y'all have one coming up. So I want to give you the opportunity to at least share if folks want to get to know and meet you. Yes,
this is going to be really fun. We cannot thank Brian at the Briar Patch enough for doing this, but Laurel and Carly with Bellini Blooms, and Laurel is with Laurel at the Hive. And so they came together and they thought it would be really cool if we can get a couple of us together to create some really fun cocktail drinks. And so Brian at Briar Patch helped us out with that. And so that is launching tomorrow. So there's 4 of us, Mary Leslie with Mississippi Mama, and myself with Carly with Bellini Blooms, and Laurel with Laurel at the Hive. So check out our social media channels. We're going to be posting our menu and all the details. It's going to be limited time only. But so some of the names of the drinks are Hive and Mighty, The Southern Charm, One Thing Leads to a Mother, and Bellini Blooms. So
I know about the One Thing Leads to a Mother. I had that twice.
So grab your girlfriends, or if you just want to take yourself out on a date, get to Briar Patch starting tomorrow, and try one of our cocktails that we created. We also have pictures of it. We did a fun photo shoot together. And these girls are just so inspiring. If you don't know them, you want to get to know them, and they're just very encouraging. So it was a joy to do this project with them, and thanks to Laurel and Carly for including me and Mary Leslie in this project.
Well, I think you've reminded us today, Nicole, we're all about supporting local here on Good Things, and that's statewide throughout Mississippi. And that's one beautiful thing with social media is we are able to support women or any business, really, entrepreneur, kid, male, whoever it may be, when they choose to use social media as a platform. It doesn't matter. You're not limited to where you
Right.
sort of are. And you've reminded us today that you guys, even though there's sometimes a stench around the word influencers, y'all are still out there hustling. It's a small business. You're putting passion and grit into it, into something you believe in and that brings you joy. And
Right.
we should be supporting those that are in our, communities that are out there trying to put out positive, good, uplifting
Right.
content. The stuff you want your kids to see whenever they're scrolling through or whatever. So.
Yeah, and we have so many great businesses here, right here in our area, and I just like to share them and highlight them. And we have amazing women here too.
Absolutely.
We're all in
right.
this together.
We're all in this together. Remind us where we can find you on Instagram.
I am at Leela Southern Charm. That's LELIASOUTHERCHARM. Did I spell that right?
You did great, girl.
Right there in the middle, I was like, oh my gosh, where is this going?
You did. I say you did it right. But
Thank you
all
so
right.
much, Rebecca.
For sure. You guys stick with us, though. We got a few more good things.